Hey guys, welcome to a new video. I've been sorting some Koreans on the new patch for the mid-season update, and we've got a bunch of new stuff that's popped up over there as super strong. There is a list of the champions in the description down below if that's all you're after, but we're just going to jump straight in with the first one, which is Maokai. So out of the three reworks that came in, the Sejuani and the Maokai, I honestly thought this was the weakest one out of all of them, but I didn't really think about this as a support. It's so weird. It's actually because he does a crap ton of damage with his saplings. He is one of the best late game supports you can play, which is kind of crazy now. If we look at matchups, like he struggles a little bit versus AoE heals and shields and stuff like Janna and Sona because they can heal up the damage, plus Brawlmoo can block it with his shield, but anything else he pretty much destroys. When I first looked at this a few days ago, I thought, okay, it's like Bond of Stone, Redemption, Locket and stuff, like a tank support with loads of crowd control and a bit of damage. That kind of makes sense. Well, it's kind of evolved now. The Koreans have taken this to another level over the past few days. We're getting now Thunderlords with an AP support item, Liandry's, Voidstar, Banshees, Ludens taking over. This is actually where the late game comes in. Ironically, it's not about the shields and stuff you can provide. You set up your saplings in a bush and you let them explode all over the enemy team and they destroy them. It's kind of funny, but his lowest win rate is early game, and then it scales up to the point where if you face a support Maokai and the game goes past 40 minutes, you stand a 60% chance to lose. You can go a tank version of this with Bond of Stone, okay? It actually still works. It has a really high win rate. Get a Locket, get a Redemption, Knight's Vow, and you're a really good tank crowd control support. Plus, because you have so much crowd control and slows and roots and whatever in your kit, you actually have loads of ways to proc the healing with the Bond of Stone. It's really good. Thunderlords, though, has the highest win rate right now with an AP build, and that is what everybody is playing. It's legit like a cheese strat. You put your saplings in bushes, you wait for them to do double damage when they explode onto somebody that walks into them, and that is how you're winning games. And if we go on to another rework one, Sejuani, this is in the jungle, obviously, everybody knows about that, but also the top lane as well in Korea. That's the biggest difference to games over here. It's mainly how much crowd control she has combined with her damage. Like, the idea with the reworks was that we get tanks with more crowd control and like more tanky, but they don't do as much damage. Sejuani doesn't really follow that. In the jungle, she is beating everybody except Ivan, basically, and actually has a really solid win rate versus Graves and Lee Sin, which almost never happens. If we look at the top lane, she's losing to Darius, but apart from that, she's beating everybody right now, especially Riven and Fiora, who are supposed to be tank busters, so it's actually pretty ridiculous. The build is Sunfire into Iceborne and then Abyssal mostly for the extra AP damage, because you do AP, by the way, but Visage, Gargoyle, Stoneplate after that as well. This provides a decent amount of armor and damage combined, really, especially early with your Sheen damage. It's actually quite a lot. The build in the jungle is exactly the same, except we're swapping out the Sunfire for a Cinderhulk, so that's the only difference. There is actually a difference in the win rate, though. So for top lane, you're much better early than late game. You don't scale with items as well as others, like Fiora, for example. She is going to outscale you if you get to that point. The meta isn't purely about team fights. In the jungle, though, you're solid throughout the game because you can just be a massive tank engaged for your team and have some more damage top lane. This is after the hotfix as well, by the way. She was majorly busted, but still a powerhouse now, and Korea has started to basically ban her every single game because she's winning so many. It's all about your stuns, really. In team fights, it's crazy. You take no damage at all at the start of a fight, and your ultimate lockdown is amazing for engage. It's like the old Sejuani, but kind of on steroids. Grasp and Courage are both good, by the way. It just kind of depends what you'd prefer to have, a little bit more damage or a bit more tankiness to start a fight. Moving on, Jax is a new entry here. We haven't seen him for a long time in Korea, to be honest. He's always like middle of the pack, but he's now doing a lot better, and a lot of it is indirect buffs to his build. Guardian Angel and Sterix are perfect items for his defensive kind of aspect, so he can survive jumping into fights but still have a lot of damage, and both are so much better for him. Guardian Angel is more aggressive now with more AD. It's perfect for him diving in, and Sterix also gives your Sheen more damage, which is also perfect when you can proc it basically on cooldown. It's a lot of your damage. You are even beating Darius with this new setup. That is how good Jax is right now, and he has very even matchups though, but it's always like that, to be honest, because it's a lot to do with skill. Jax is a super good scaling champion, so if you can get a lead early into the game, like through skill matchups, you'll be able to have a really good mid game, and you do a lot of work, either like split pushing or team fights. That is where the build comes in a little bit more. Like Blade into Trinity or the other way around is almost every single game. Then Sterix, GA, and Randuin's are the go-to. You can go more tanky with Titanic and Trinity if you want to, but it's not as good anymore now that the new Blade is so strong. As you would expect, the win rate really picks up mid to late game, but it's not terrible early anymore. You'd expect to do most work past 25 minutes into the game though. Really, this whole thing is Sterix and GA buffing a champion who was already good but not played that much. Like, it made his hard matchups better, right? Gives him more damage mid game from items he was already buying, so he's not changing his playstyle at all. Fervor is the most popular by far at the moment for masteries. It makes sense. You stack it super fast, you attack a lot, so you're using the extra AD all the time, and this is another reason why he's better mid game, to be honest. Okay, so I've wanted to talk about Jinx for a long time, but she's always been a bit hit and miss at higher ranks over in Korea. This patch is better though, and she's also more popular, and she's also one of the best low AD carries. So if you're like gold and below, I'd say even maybe plat actually, like she's a really strong pick. A lot of this is the Runes change actually with her rockets, which has more AD, so bigger crits, plus the Blade Rush over there is making her early less crap and gives her more of a chance to get into the game as well. She's really good versus Ezreal, who is super popular, and Zaya actually as well, but you just have to kind of try and avoid people who want to 1v1 you like Twitch or Lucian. Also a big part of this is how good of an answer she is to Caitlyn and Vayne, which are both more popular now. She can kind of outscale them, but a lot of it is build, like Blade first into Runes. You have these AoE crits with more AD now and the percentage damage as well, then into Infinity Edge afterwards, and it gives you a really good mid game. You round it out with like Rapid Fire, Cannon, Phantom Dancer, whichever you kind of want, and Last Whisper as well. Jinx is always best when she has like 3 to 4 items, which isn't much of a surprise, but she's so good at lower ranks earlier into the game as well. She's pretty easy to play, right? It's mostly standing in the right place and avoiding damage. Like rockets are 90% of the time what you're going to be using. You just auto attack and kill everybody. You do have some self peel with your chompers and crowd control for the lane phase, but a crap ton of damage, and it's so easy to use that damage. That is the important part. Fervor versus Warlords is always this like high debated thing on Jinx. Both are good. Fervor is more so in the career at the moment though. You kind of do need the extra damage rather than healing in my opinion, and you do get the Blade of the Rune King first, so you have the life steal. Even bigger AoE crits with Fervor, which is kind of hard to pass up. Right, so Anivia is sitting on the edge of becoming busted, I think. Lucky she's not super easy to play, or we'd be in some real trouble actually. A lot of this is because she's so strong at every stage in the game. Like she doesn't really have a bad phase really. Like she's always safe with her eggs. She always outputs a ton of damage. The other reason is matchups. Like she beats Ahri and Kassadin, who are two of the strongest, most popular mid laners at the moment. She also beats everybody else, obviously, only losing to Aurelion So actually, but he's never really played and nobody can play him well either. It's pretty insane when a champion has a positive win rate against almost everybody. Like she's super well rounded and she fits his meta game perfectly as well. Looking at her build, like she's one of the only champions who can build Rod of Ages anymore and scale into the game because her base damage is so good. So early game, her base damage is going to carry, and then Rod of Ages really kicks in. Getting a Tyr or Archangel sometimes it's Morello Nomicon for the mana instead. Liandry's though, Zhonya's Banshees. Like she actually has a really good set of items at the moment. Looking at her win rate is kind of disgusting. Like it's really high until super late game. At that point, your cooldowns are kind of too long, honestly, and an AD carry will massively overtake you in damage output. Before that point though, your cooldowns are enough to blow everybody up, so you have more impact basically. I honestly feel like if you can play Anivia or you want to, if you find her fun, you really should do it while you can. I think eventually she will get nerfed or she'll kind of fall out of the meta. I don't think she's OP, like really annoying to play against or anything, but she's so solid right now. She even has that zone potential too, like she can keep people away with her wall or her ultimate to get objectives without even fighting. Now I do kind of have to mention Twitch as well when we're talking about AD carries. He's like the solo AD carry right now in Korea. They start with Blade most games to fight people. They sneak around, they burst people down, they get a ton of kills and gold, and that is how they carry themselves. He's beating everybody except kind of Kalista really, which is pretty even. Crushing Ezreal, Vayne, Jinx, Zaya, and going like even versus Caitlyn and Lucian, which to be honest is kind of impressive with how strong they are. The reason I'm mentioning this time though is because Shiv is more burst, even better kind of assassin style of play, and he's played in almost 10% of games now, but still has these crazy win rates. I think most of this is actually build. Like Twitch is very item reliant. Blade into Runes is every single game now. After that you would get Infinity Edge normally and Shiv afterwards. Phantom Dancer is still good though, more if you're being like dove on, but Shiv is really solid burst damage and more AoE damage as well. When you look at his win rate in Korea, you kind of understand why I'm going to talk about him. Like if he's going to lose, he basically has to do it in the lane phase. He gets spanked, that is it. So he has the third highest win rate before 30 minutes after that lane phase if he survives to that point, and first for the rest of the game, which is nuts. He is the best late game AD carry you can play, but he has a weak lane versus most meta champions. That is the thing here more than anything. If you can survive that though, you're going to be a beast. I love this pick right now. You can roam, you can get kills, you can carry the game yourself and not feel helpless. Like if you get to mid game, you always stand a chance to carry in team fights. Now very quickly, we have two more, something a bit different, like two jungle picks I want to look at that are much better with the mid-season update. The Master Yi to start with now is the 5th most popular jungler over there, and to me that's kind of weird. Like he's not aggressive, he's not that good early, but a lot of people are playing him right now anyway. Blade is a big reason because it gives you the lifesteal to farm and also to fight people, like with Rage Blade and Black Cleaver as well. Still actually after the nerfs as well. Obviously that is with Blood Razor, so you're running double percentage damage, which is kind of crazy, and he's slowly been getting more and more popular as this kind of tank buster. He is mostly really good against tanky champions more than anything, and I just wanted to highlight this more so for the lower ranked players that watch this video, where I think he's even better. If he's super good even at this level, which is plat and above in Korea, like play him below plat and you'll be climbing no problem. problem. Elise is the opposite of this, kind of why I want to talk about her. We're seeing major spikes up as the best early game jungler you can play. The AP item changes will have helped a little bit, but if you're an aggressive jungle player, this is probably who you want to be playing right now. It is the real opposite of Yi though. Like if Elise wins, she does it early into the game, but she's also hovering around the second or third most popular jungler over there. She also sucks versus tanks, but she is so good versus carry champs. So she is the anti-carry jungler. She's beating Lee Sin, Graves, Kha'Zix, even Nidalee as well, which never normally happens. You basically pick Elise to out-gank, out-invade, out-damage, and out-pressure the enemy jungler. If you like this kind of ganking, constantly kind of playstyle, then you should definitely be playing her after the patch. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video looking at these 8 new awesome picks in Korea. Let me know what you think in the comments, but for now, I'll leave you with the robots.